A young associate, from what I could gather, had been on the job for 3 days and was asked to go over to another building and help load out D containers. They were quite shocked to learn they were not the large metal containers, as she put it, that looks like trailers. She asked if I'd ever seen such. It just so happens I've worked a lot with the different containers earlier in my career. Now, when most people hear the word container, they think about those giant steel boxes stacked on ships crossing the ocean. But containers are really everywhere. From a D container rolling through a retail grocery warehouse to an EH container packed with heavy product, to even lift vans moving families overseas, all the way up to 45-foot and even larger high-cube ocean containers arriving from around the world. There are so many different types of containers. They organize freight, help protect product. In some cases, we can select and pack product in one move, really increasing productivity and improving cube utilization while speeding up transportation. And if you've ever worked around them, you already know containers aren't just boxes. Some are designed for stacking, some for rolling. They even have some for refrigerated product. I've seen several different ones for export shipping. So today, let's talk about containers. The small ones, large ones, reusable ones, the refrigerated ones, and the giant steel containers that changed global commerce forever. Let's start with the containers many warehouse associates know best. The D containers, E containers, EH containers, and LDN containers. Now, depending on the operation, the exact sizes and names may vary slightly, but in groceries, food service, retail, and large distribution environments, these are usually large, reusable pallet or rolling containers designed around warehouse productivity systems. These are not those little plastic totes on our conveyor tracks. Let's start off with the D container. I've banded and strapped many a D container in my day. If you've spent time in grocery or food service distribution, especially in the produce world, you've probably loaded up hundreds of D containers in your career. The D container is one of the workhorses of warehouse distribution, an absolute time saver. Typical dimensions are often around 48 inches long, 40 inches wide, and anywhere between 36 and 48 inches tall. Anybody want to guess why 48 by 40? Yep, the size of a typical GMA or Grocery Manufacturers Association pallet. Most are built with heavy-duty cardboard or plastic with reinforced bases, large caster wheels for the rolling models, and some stackable designs as well. Many operations load them with 1,000 to 2,000 pounds of freight. I commonly see D containers used for mixed product selection, cooler operations like produce, think of like watermelons, pumpkins, melons, things like that. They're good for returns and repacks too. If you've seen those commercials or ads for buying a pallet of returned product, they may ship it to you in a D container. A container can truly change the workflow. Using the right container is important, though. The size of the container affects our picking speed, trailer cube, stacking patterns, conveyor systems, even different slotting strategies and labor productivity. Operations teams don't just pick containers randomly. There's engineering behind every inch of that design. And from a safety standpoint, D containers demand respect. Once they're fully loaded, stopping distance changes, our pushing forces increase, visibility and control changes. Anybody that's ever lost control of a loaded D container on an incline knows exactly what I'm talking about. Next up are the E containers. Now, the E container is usually taller and designed for higher cube utilization. Typical dimensions are again around 48 inches by 40 inches wide, but around 50 to 60 inches tall. You'll see E-containers heavily used in, grocery distribution, some types of retail replenishment in both cooler and freezer environments. I mentioned respect and safety earlier. That extra height changes everything operationally. Now we're talking about a higher center of gravity, reduced visibility, and an increased tipping risk. A poorly built e-container becomes dangerous quick, especially if heavy product gets stacked high or product shifts during transportation. Now, let's move on to the EH container, the heavy-duty version. These containers are built tougher and stronger. They're more reinforced and designed for heavier freight applications. The typical dimensions are often 48 by 40 and 60 inches tall or even greater. Many operations safely load 2,000 pounds or more into an EH container. You'll commonly find EH containers in freezer operations, meat distribution, industrial warehousing, manufacturing, things like that. And once again, the container itself becomes part of the safety conversation. Because now we're discussing pinch points, rolling weight, dock plate safety, caster failures, and freight shifting. Especially in freezer environments where condensation's going to freeze, wheels become harder to control, and any plastic can become very brittle. Let's see, what's next? The LDN containers. These are often longer, deeper, high-capacity containers designed for heavy environments. Typical dimensions may range from 48 to 60 inches long, 40 inches wide, and 60 inches or taller. Now, we're going to see these commonly in cross-dock operations, route staging, and high-volume distribution centers, and those containers are built around one thing, cube utilization. We all know that empty space costs money, right? Every inch matters, in the trailer, on the dock, in reserve storage, and on conveyor systems. The better we use cube, the more efficient the operation becomes. Now let's talk about something many younger warehouse associates may never have heard of, the lift van. Before standardized ocean containers became the norm, lift vans played a huge role in transportation and overseas moving. The lift van is basically a portable shipping vault. They're usually built from wood or reinforced plywood with steel supports or maybe composite materials. Typical sizes varied greatly, but many measured like 6 to 8 feet wide, 6 to 8 feet tall, and could be 6 to 12 feet long. These were heavily used for military relocations, office moves, overseas household shipping, and export freight. And honestly, lift vans helped inspire container standardization and showed a need across global shipping. Once businesses realized freight could stay inside one container from start to finish, efficiency exploded. Now let's move into the giants of global commerce, the ocean shipping containers. These steel boxes literally changed the world. Before standardized shipping containers, freight was loaded piece by piece onto ships. Imagine loading every box, crate, barrel, and pallet by hand. Loading ships could take days. Then standardized containers arrived and global commerce was changed forever. The 20-foot container became one of the original global standards. Their typical dimensions were 20 feet long, 8 feet wide, and 8 feet 6 inches tall with a maximum gross weight of approximately 52,000 pounds, meaning a payload capacity of roughly, I think it was around 47,000 pounds. These containers are commonly used for things like machinery, industrial products, canned goods, and heavy, dense freight. And because the container is smaller, it often handles heavy loads better than longer containers. Now, the 24-foot container isn't as common globally, but many domestic and specialized operations use them. You'll sometimes see them in regional transportation arenas, moving operations, specialized freight systems, and certain intermodal applications. They help bridge the gap between maneuverability and increased cube space. And on to the 40-foot container. The 40-footer became the king of international shipping. Typical dimensions begin 40 feet long, 8 foot wide, 8 feet 6 inches tall with a gross weight of approximately 67,000 pounds. These dominate in retail imports, electronics, furniture, apparel, and consumer goods. When you picture giant stacks of containers on ships, this is usually what you're seeing. Then you also have the 40-foot and 45-foot high cube containers, both having an extra foot of space. These containers maximize import efficiencies, warehouse throughput, transportation cube, and trailer equivalent capacity. And anybody that's manually unloaded one during the summer already knows. Halfway through that load, it feels like the container keeps getting longer and longer. Oh, and now let's talk about the refrigerated containers, or as transportation folks call them, reefers. These containers maintain controlled temperatures of frozen foods, produce, pharmaceuticals, dairy, and meat products. And these aren't just cold steel boxes. These are rolling refrigeration systems. They require temperature monitoring, airflow management, fuel systems, maintenance, and constant inspection. One reefer malfunction can destroy an entire load, thousands of dollars in freight, or even millions in pharmaceutical products. Now, containers certainly improve productivity, but they also introduce risk. We have to respect dock locks, the dock plates, trailer movement devices and chassis, shifting freight, and stacking stability. Ocean containers especially can become dangerous environments. Improperly loaded freight can shift violently when doors are open, and overloaded warehouse containers can roll unexpectedly, tip over, or create severe ergonomic strain. Sometimes the container itself is the hazard. From a D container rolling through a grocery warehouse to a refrigerated 45-foot high cube crossing the Pacific Ocean, containers help move the entire world. Like we've said many times, every product has a journey, and almost every journey starts with a container. Look around you. Everything you see has probably been on a container or at least a trailer and came through a warehouse. Well, there's a little on containers, and I hope I answered your questions. I'm Marty, and thanks for listening to another episode of Warehouse and Operations as a Career. Y'all stay productive and never stop learning, and stay safe out there.